claims of a cover-up, I guess, were fuelled by the silence to start with. A lot of controversy has surrounded this row over whether it was a terror-related or terror attack. I'm Matt Dathan. I'm the Home Affairs editor at The Times.
Matt, quite soon after the horrific tragedy in Southport, we started to see riots springing up, and it became a bit of a political row. Just remind us why that happened.
Yes, so shortly after the horrifying attack in Southport, rumours spread online like wildfire about the background of the perpetrator, Axel Rudakubana. They falsely claimed that he was an illegal migrant who had just come over on a small boat that was found to have been put out by a Russian bot. There were other claims that he was a Muslim, that he was an Islamist terrorist, and all of these were false because the police later confirmed that he was born in Cardiff to Rwandan parents, and all of their history that they had on them suggested that they were Christian and not Muslim.
A lot of the misinformation that sprung up came almost out of the silence from the authorities and from the government. Just explain why they weren't saying more.
First and foremost, because he was 17, and therefore they could not, or they do not usually reveal the name of someone that age who is being charged with a criminal offence like that. Claims of a cover-up, I guess, were fuelled by the silence to start with. The reluctance to initially reveal identity, and that was quickly corrected when the police realised that things were getting out of control. They decided to name him. And then the ongoing refusal of the Merseyside police, the CPS and government to give more details, but they were constrained by contempt of law and the threats that they would collapse the whole trial. Secondly, a lot of controversy has surrounded this row over whether it was a terror-related or terror attack. I mean, his actions clearly caused terror in any sense of the word, but under the current framework of the law, a terror attack is one in which is motivated by a political or ideological motivation, and there was no clear evidence that the police had found at the time or since that he was motivated by political or religious ideology, and that is actually something they're Keir Starmer has announced they're going to look at in future cases. The confusion later transpired even more when in October, on the 29th of October, exactly 3 months after the attack, Merseyside police announced that they were charging Rudakubana with 2 additional charges, one of which was a terror-related offence of possessing a study of a training manual, an Al-Qaeda training manual. And this was a study of the Al-Qaeda training manual.
Not the manual itself.
And that was important because it explains why it took so long for the Crown Prosecution Service to determine that this was a criminal offence in their view. I mean, the manual was widely available online. In fact, until recently it was available on Waterstones.
So even though the killings weren't seen as an act of terror, he was charged under a Terrorism Act for just possessing that study of a manual.
Yes, that's right, but still it was not a terror. It was not declared or being treated as a terror attack because there was still no clear sign that it was motivated by religious or political motivations. What we've been told the last couple of days is that the conclusion is that he was motivated by simply an extreme obsession with violence.
It became a real political football, particularly for the Reform Party and a few others. Tell us about the political fallout.
Yes, well, Nigel Farage is probably the one who's leading the claims of a cover-up and has again said that Keir Starmer is covering up details of his past because, and there are concerns that they withheld information to ensure that public order was maintained, and given the violence that we saw break out in the late days of July and August last summer, you can see why the authorities were so worried about that violence escalating even further or breaking out again later in the year.
Does this become a turning point in the way that we think about threats to our national security?
Yes, I think it will be seen as a turning point, and I think Keir Starmer had that very much in mind when he decided to give a very early morning 8:30 a.m. press conference, abnormally early for Westminster standards, on this issue. And later in the House of Commons, Yvette Cooper herself pointed out there'd been a threefold increase in under-18s investigated for involvement in terrorism in the last 3 years, and cited these quite stark statistics from the Prevent referral statistics from last year that revealed 162 people in the UK were referred to the programme over concerns relating to school massacres. As you said, we usually see or view school massacres as one of the most horrifying things we think of when we think of America. But these stats show that a lot of people in this country are radicalised by the thought of school massacres, perhaps not carrying them out, but they are serious enough concerns that they have been referred to the Prevent programme. And that is what is so depressing and overwhelming. And it shows that there are mechanisms in place to stop these people. It's just the error of human beings in those agencies. And let's face it, companies like Amazon, who sold a knife to an underage customer, those are pretty depressing to read and report about.
That's The Story from The Times and The Sunday Times. Listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Manveen Rana from The Story, a daily news podcast from The Times. Join me and my co-host Luke Jones for a deep dive into the big stories and investigations. Plus, each month, William Hague hosts an agenda-setting interview with a key newsmaker or big thinker. That's The Story, The Times daily podcast that brings you one remarkable story told in depth. Listen every weekday on The Times radio app or wherever you get your podcasts.